Last week I talked about the Visceral Games closure and how the closure of Westwood Studios in the mid-noughties connects with it. This week it's time to work out the motive, the reason to why they do what they do and why they've become so predictable. At least I've been trying to work it out, but a lot of what they do is run by a sense of corporatism. That meaning money. But it's not just that, another side of it makes it seem like they just want to have less staff. That's the other reason to do developer consolidations, moving staff within and around studios. They did do a bit of restructuring at Visceral before their closure to try and mimic the flat structure of Naughty Dog and Valve. So the main reason I can currently see why EA does what it does is to simplify its corporate structure and money. And a lot of this mentality comes down to one thing: modernity. When EA was set up in 1982, it was only a publisher. There was a time when EA was neither a distributor nor a developer. It was a much simpler time for the company. So these days, as they expand and bring more companies into the fold, their structure gets more complicated. Their way of fixing it is the sledgehammer method, smashing everything and gluing everything back together in not necessarily the same way and with not as many people. It creates the image that EA buys IP, not people, because in a way it does. They bring in a developer and jigsaw it into the company as a way to try and support the developer. It's like saying, it would be more efficient if you had wheels, so you're going to cut off your legs and stick wheels on the stumps. They do it to preserve the larger whole than the individual. With Visceral as the example, the development costs of Ragtag were getting high, so they shifted it elsewhere, and with no other projects on the docket, it was the end of Visceral. So it's safe to say that they're a company that plays it safe with developers, a company that has the concern that a bad and expensive release can cause a cascade of financial black holes, whether it's justified or not. That, combined with some of the core goals the company has picked up over the years, means that they've had a very awkward transitionary period in becoming a modern company in light of things like the internet. Like the goal that founder Trip Hawkins had to sell directly to buyers without the need of bringing in distributors. It was a good option at the time when they were a new company with new and unknown IPs. Again, simpler time when EA had no history. A couple of decades later, that goal bit them when the way forward was online distribution, and they found out that their distributor section didn't need to be as big as it was, and so, consolidations. EA was even the company that pioneered the idea of large-scale teams of developers, so as games got bigger, more complex and more graphically intensive, more people needed to be brought in. Now teams of hundreds develop EA games, with even more in the wings for advertising, marketing and PR. Running a company the size of EA is expensive, and so they will try and cut where they think they can to try and lower costs. Sometimes that means people, teams or whole developers get the chop. Again, whether it's justified or not. But then comes the question of, does game development need to be this expensive? Do developers need to spend so much time and, namely, money on things like graphical fidelity or map sizes? Or do they even spend that amount of money on the game development with possible cutting or profiteering? Which leads me to next week, the Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box system.